Every time a cargo ship clears a harbor, a smartphone maps a route, or an international bank processes a transaction, the modern world leans entirely on a quiet, invisible network of GPS satellites circling the Earth. When we picture a conflict in orbit, we tend to borrow heavily from Hollywood. We imagine laser fire, explosive dogfights, and heavily armed military satellites hunting each other in the dark. But defense analysts projecting out to the 2030 and 2040 horizon predict a conflict that looks almost nothing like that. Future space wars will be fought to systematically bankrupt entire nations through a strategy known as Astroeconomic Warfare. Instead of fighting heavily armed armies on the ground, a hostile power can force an enemy to capitulate simply by suffocating their wealth and freezing their society from orbit. The first battleground sits just above our atmosphere in low Earth orbit, a densely packed zone crowded with the civilian and commercial satellites that govern global logistics. In military doctrine, an attack here is classified as a counter-value strike. A traditional counter-force strike aims to reduce an enemy's military capacity. A counter-value strike bypasses the military entirely to paralyze a society's most valuable economic assets. The opening move of an astroeconomic attack involves neutralizing systems that have immense civilian importance on Earth, specifically communication networks and GPS. A few key satellites blinking out would trigger a cascading financial collapse below. Supply chains would freeze, automated farming equipment would halt, and electronic stop exchanges would lose their precise timing synchronization, inflicting massive costs on the target nation and neutral trade allies alike. Near-Earth space offers no protective buffer for the population below. It operates as the most fragile, exposed layer of a nation's domestic economy. Pushing the timeline out to 2040, the spatial lens expands to the Moon, where humanity is establishing heavy industrial footprints. Extraterrestrial profit centers, like lunar resource mines and orbital manufacturing plants, will soon represent billions of dollars in capital assets that require constant connection to Earth. To cripple an adversary, hostile powers deploy strategic blockades across commercial trade routes, using localized interference to choke off paths between Earth and the Moon. Billions in assets become suddenly trapped off-world. Severing these resources systematically strangles the Earth-based economy financing those operations. As human infrastructure and commerce push further into the solar system, our economic vulnerability scales outward at the exact same pace. While the environment is a vacuum, the strategy itself is centuries old. Historically, the vast, untamed void of space mirrors the oceans of Earth. Military planners compare this approach to guerre de course, a historical naval concept focused entirely on commerce raiding. Rather than engaging heavily armed enemy warships in direct combat, empires would sink undefended merchant ships, cutting off supply lines to starve island nations into surrender. Superpowers in the 2040s will resurrect these exact tactics. They will bypass military space stations to raid orbital trade lanes, blockade lunar mines, and suffocate rival economies on Earth. Space provides a new medium for conflict, but strategically it operates as the new ocean for empires to raid commerce. Orbit has transitioned into an active, vital extension of the global economy, moving away from its legacy as a quiet scientific void or a purely military high ground. Every new satellite launch, every lunar facility, and every deep space trade route humanity builds simultaneously creates a highly valuable target for adversaries. This creates a new mandate for global superpowers. The primary objective of a space force will center on the relentless protection of commercial supply lines, rather than simple territorial dominance. Protecting these astroeconomic interests is a prerequisite for a stable society. In the conflicts of tomorrow, keeping those orbital supply lines open is the absolute baseline requirement for national survival.